The contract, the industry, and the cage. The contract as a written prison. Contracts are often understood as banal, bureaucratic tools, legal instruments meant to protect mutual interests. In some systems, however, they function as instruments of control. One such example is the management contract imposed on artists by EE Media, a state-owned entertainment company in China. On paper, it presents itself as standard professional management. In practice, it operates as a cage. Taken individually, many of the terms appear routine. Collectively, they form a written prison that is nearly impossible to escape. The contract grants the agency total authority over an artist's professional life, leaving almost no space for personal choice or autonomy. Yet even these formal clauses tell only part of the story. Beyond the written document lies a parallel system of unspoken rules that dictate behavior, amplify fear, and reinforce control, revealing the deep insecurity underlying the system itself. The agency explicitly retained the right to arrange, adjust, and approve all of Yu Menglong's entertainment work. Even if Yu personally objected, the company could sign contracts and act on his behalf. A telling example was his initial reluctance to participate in the variety show Shine Super Brothers. Although Yu later joined and even enjoyed the experience, the company's unilateral enrollment demonstrated how formal authority could override individual preference, normalizing coerced participation under the appearance of consent.
我为什么来这儿？我一开始其实是有点犹豫的，然后经纪人他们就背着我把合同签了。
And during the contract period, the agency also acquired expansive rights over Yu's identity. His name, stage name, image, photographs, signature, voice, and biography could be used for promotion without additional compensation beyond the revenue split. All artistic output, music, performances, and derivative works, such as merchandise, digital products, or endorsements, became the agency's exclusive property. Even after the contract ended, the company retained the right to continue promoting his work, provided it was not framed as direct profit-making. Financial control was equally restrictive. All income, performance fees, royalties, endorsements, bonuses, was first collected by the agency. After taxes and broadly defined reasonable expenses, such as styling, travel, legal fees, and promotion were deducted, the remainder was split according to a rigid formula that typically left the artist with only 30%. The agency also retained the right to withhold payment for alleged non-compliance, directly tying livelihood to obedience. Surveillance extended well beyond finances. Yu was required to report his movements, physical and mental condition, social relationships, and other personal information deemed relevant to work. The agency supervised his public image, approved or rejected projects, and imposed penalties for failure to comply. Independent coordination of work opportunities could result in fines or unilateral termination. The agency could further represent Yu in legal disputes, pursue or defend claims on his behalf, and deduct associated costs from his income. At the same time, he was prohibited from independently negotiating contracts or endorsements. His career trajectory, earnings, and creative output were fully bound to the agency's control. Beyond written clauses, daily life was governed by unwritten rules: who one could speak to, which projects could be suggested, how public behavior should align with agency and state expectations. Minor deviations, questioning assignments, displaying dissent, acting outside prescribed channels, carried consequences the contract never explicitly stated. These invisible rules maintained constant psychological pressure, exposing a central truth: formal clauses alone are insufficient. Compliance must also be enforced through fear, precedent, and tacit expectation. Taken together, these mechanisms reveal a system designed not merely to manage artists, but to strip them of autonomy while normalizing total control. For Yu Menglong, as for many others, the contract was not a business agreement. It was a prison in writing, reinforced by unspoken rules that kept even compliant artists under surveillance and threat. Lawsuits reveal the extreme imbalance built into these contracts. Rarely, an artist can successfully challenge a company. Zhang Liangying, for instance, won her case after a 1-year contractual term. But even then, the process was arduous. After the term ended, Zhang still had to litigate to reclaim her autonomy, underscoring the deep inequities embedded in standard agreements. In most cases, legal remedies are effectively meaningless. Contracts are designed to favor companies and suppress resistance. Yu's subsequent transfer to Blue Media revealed the system at its most coercive. His 3-year renewal was neither a choice nor an advancement, but a downgrade into tighter surveillance and ongoing abuse. Blue Media functioned as a proxy and disciplinary extension of EE Media, while the management structure remained intact. Handlers such as Du Chang acted as human enforcers, monitoring behavior, enforcing unspoken rules, and applying pressure when autonomy surfaced. The contract alone could not coerce Yu. Social, psychological, and surveillance mechanisms were required to secure obedience. This arrangement exposes a central reality of the Xi-era entertainment industry. Contracts function as legal facades for totalitarian control. Compliance is not achieved through formal obligations alone, but through a layered architecture in which legal authority, corporate proxies, and psychological manipulation converge. Even where legal recourse theoretically exists, the surrounding system renders autonomy nearly impossible. Industrial norms and systemic control. While EE Media's contract was extreme, it was not exceptional. Similar arrangements are widespread across China's entertainment industry, forming an ecosystem that systematically constrains creative freedom and enforces obedience. Formal contracts, paired with tacit expectations, create a dense network of control that extends far beyond what is written on paper. Agencies, many state-owned or closely aligned with state media, exercise near-total authority over artists' professional lives. Scheduling, public appearances, endorsements, and creative output are centrally managed. Contracts routinely authorize agencies to act on behalf of artists in almost all matters, signing agreements, negotiating payments, and legal representation. Independent decision-making is structurally eliminated. Artists function less as autonomous professionals than as managed assets. Because these arrangements are industry standard, they are widely perceived as inevitable. Even invasive clauses, payment withholding for non-compliance, mandatory reporting of movements, open-ended behavioral obligations, are normalized as the price of entry. Resistance is rare not because artists freely consent, but because refusal forecloses opportunity. The system rewards obedience with visibility and access, while punishing independence with exclusion. Over time, compliance is internalized as professionalism and submission as pragmatism. Enforcement rarely relies on written terms alone. Informal mechanisms, reduced exposure, sudden loss of roles, reputational damage, quiet blacklisting, are often sufficient. In Yu Menglong's case, the suppression of his visibility after he violated unspoken rules reflected standard industry practice rather than exceptional retaliation. Explicit threats are unnecessary. Precedent and social signaling do the work. The state's role is structural rather than overt. The industry operates within a political economy shaped by state ownership, regulatory dependence, and alignment with state media platforms. Entertainment is not merely commercial, It is a mechanism of cultural governance. Contracts and norms are designed to produce predictability, ideological safety, and behavioral compliance. Influence is managed long before it reaches the public. Together, contracts, informal discipline, and political alignment form a closed feedback loop. Artists are conditioned to accept total control as the prerequisite for survival. Agencies accumulate legitimacy and coercive capacity. The state achieves pervasive regulation of culture without constant intervention. Even formal exit offers little relief. Blacklisting, platform suppression, and reputational stigma often persist long after contracts end. Unwritten rules lie at the heart of this system. Expectations are deliberately left uncodified: what to say, whom to avoid, when to remain silent, enabling enforcement without legal accountability. Ambiguity becomes a weapon. Artists learn compliance less from formal instruction than through observation, fear, and example. Punishment as instruction and social learning. While Yu Menglong's ultimate punishment was designed as discipline, repression, and scandal creation, it also functioned as instruction. In totalitarian systems, discipline is rarely private. Punishment is staged to be observable, legible, and reproducible. Its purpose is not merely to eliminate deviation, but to prevent it from recurring. Yu's case exemplified this logic. The consequences were public, sequential, and unmistakably clear, serving as a lesson for others in the industry. This pedagogical function aligns with Bandura's theories of social learning. People acquire behaviors through observation, especially from authority figures. Young artists watch senior peers strictly comply and witness the consequences of resistance: cancelled projects, public shaming, blacklisting. Tacit knowledge of unwritten codes, what is acceptable to say, who to defer to, which collaborations to avoid, spreads through observation, reinforcing control without explicit instruction. Crucially, junior figures within the hierarchy served as witnesses, as reflected in the attendee list. Their role was to absorb the lesson: how resistance is detected, how pressure escalates, and how autonomy is neutralized. No formal instruction was needed. Comprehension came through proximity, observation, and fear. Moral disengagement also plays a role. Agencies frame restrictive clauses as necessary for career development, while artists rationalize strict control as part of success. Practices such as income withholding, surveillance, or content restrictions are internalized as reasonable, masking coercion and normalizing the system. Yu Menglong's treatment exemplified what was explored in the earlier episode: anatomy of a gray zone discipline mechanism. Gray zone discipline operates through staged consequences, tacit signaling, layers of proxies, and carefully managed visibility. A single case can recalibrate an entire sector, making repetition unnecessary. Punishment becomes a lesson. The system relies on demonstration for universal obedience. What matters most is the demonstrative value. One case establishes boundaries, and others adjust preemptively. Yu's punishment ensured that his peers and successors understood both the power of the agency and the cost of independence. Silence, withdrawal, and self-censorship followed without overt instructions. The reality is far darker than if media were an industry anomaly. It was simply an efficient enforcer within a larger machinery. The entertainment industry does more than limit artistic freedom. It manufactures compliance, disciplines deviation, and ensures loyalty. Legal contracts, psychological pressure, and tacit norms operate seamlessly, revealing a system designed less for production than for control. More chillingly, the control of artists serves both as a mirror of and an instrument for the regime's control over society at large.